I'm not sure why I'm not getting Roxy. It won't let her join the conversation. There she goes. Maybe that. Are you there, Roxy?
Yes.
I lost everything.
You did.
Well,
So did
I
I.
just lost him when I tried calling you. So let me call him back.
Okay.
This is a weird night tonight, I guess. It's a full moon, by the way.
Okay. Very strange.
Hi, you've reached Chris and Rochelle. We're not around to take your call right now, so leave us a message.
Oh, I called.
Hello.
We're back, Roxy.
Okay.
All right, you can go ahead. You're live, by the way.
Oh, I'm live right now. Are we up on the server?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
We're there, Roxy, if you can hear me.
Sorry, we're having...
Hello.
Chris.
Yes.
Woo!
Here we are.
We are having a night. Are we live on the air right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, people. We got our server dropped a couple of times, and Thomas, thank goodness, he straightens it out for us.
I dropped a couple of times.
And you dropped a couple of times, and our guest dropped, and we're going to get to you. So you're listening to the Truth Denied Talk Radio. Of course, I'm your host, Roxy Lopez, and we have a great guest this evening. We're going to dive into quite a few topics here. I love the range in which Chris Kehler has available to us to speak to us. So before I get there, I just wanted to go over something very quickly. It's the, Obamacare. Yes, I know, aren't we? Yawn, yawn, yawn. But I just wanted to let you know that, it's quite interesting who opted out, who is legally opted out of Obamacare. In other words, who is exempt from Obamacare. So here goes the list. All right. This is factual. This isn't something I made up. It's not a joke. Those who are exempt from Obamacare are, of course, the creator of the bill himself, President Obama, Vice President Biden, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, the White House staff, cabinet secretaries, congressional staff, the Amish, all American Indian tribes, criminals, Scientologists, Christian Scientists, and Muslims are all exempt from Obamacare. Now, I want you to know something. This is really interesting. As a formality of trying to become exempt myself, about 3 weeks ago, I decided that, wow, I could become a Christian Scientist. So I'll just go over to one of their websites and become a Christian Scientist, and then I'll be exempt from Obamacare. Well, you can go ahead and go to that link to any Christian Scientist local website that you might have and find out how difficult it is today to become a Christian Scientist. You have to go through a formal application. Now, keep in mind, in the early 80s, yes, that was a gazillion years ago for some of you, but in the early 80s, I had a very good friend, as a matter of fact, somebody I was dating at the time, a drummer, who was a Christian Scientist. So I know all about Christian Scientists, and basically to join, all you had to do was go to one of their fellowships, and you were a member. You didn't have to give them any money. You didn't have to do anything like that. Well, that was 1980-ish, 2, 3, 4. You've got to pay for your application. You have to go to a board several times to be interviewed to see if you are scientists. This is a religion, people. To become a Christian Scientist. And after several approvals, you have to show up at quite a few places. Now, if there are anybody out there listening this evening And if you're a Christian Scientist, please write to me at info@thetruthDenied.com. Please write to me. I want to know more about the changes that have obviously happened in the last quarter century regarding Christian Scientists Fellowship. So, in other words, it's not that easy to just say you're a Christian Scientist, because get this, after application and so forth, it is registered with the government. Now, what does this have to do with the government? I don't get it. So, in other words, if I claim that I'm exempt because I'm a Christian Scientist.
Roxy, we lost you.
Think about it twice. Not going to happen. You really have to become a full-fledged, real Christian Scientist, and you're going to be very, very busy once you do, because they do a lot of fundraisers. Wonderful organization. Nothing bad about them whatsoever. Just thought I'd let you know. I did attend some classes years ago over at Scientology. Somebody gave me some classes as a gift, and I didn't know too much about Scientology. I just knew I didn't want to go. This is in the 90s, mid-90s. But I went to a class that someone had given to me as a gift, and I walked out of the class because I found it to be very brainwashing. And this is before I even knew anything about Scientology. The other thing about Scientology is that it costs a whole lot of money to be part of their organization. I mean, a lot of money. So if you're thinking about maybe joining up, hooking up with the Scientologists, think again. It's going to cost you more money than it's going to cost you to get along. My guest this evening, Chris Kehler, I'm going to get this right, is a quantum...
I lost her.
A person, animal, or plant. Once that information uses sacred geometry, again, this is going to be a fascinating show. He uses sacred geometry, such as pyramids, to neutralize the stressor in the body. Stressors like viruses, bacteria, and heavy metals are moved out of the body immediately, says Chris. He also works on such problems like spiritual attachments, soul issues, and chakra imbalances. We're going to cover quite the gamut this evening. I really look forward to hearing all about his line of practice, work, dedication. Chris?
Yes.
So, Chris, first I must ask you, how long have you been in this line of work, and how did you come upon it?
I've been in this line of work professionally. It's been about 5.5 years or so, which, isn't that long of a time. Basically, I got into this work. It's a long story. It's not a long story, but it's a good story. I love to tell it because it's got a lot of heart to it. About 8 years ago, my first wife passed away. She had a rare disease called scleroderma. And so before I was doing this, when I was, when she was around, I was in the printing trade. I was running large printing presses. I was in management at my local newspaper in Winnipeg. And that's what I did for 30 years. That was my trade. That's what I did for a living. When she passed away, unfortunately, what happened is I was now in the position where I could retire. So at 45 years old, I looked at my financial planner and said, I want to retire. So I did. And the old saying goes, one door closes, another door opens. So long story short is I found myself visiting and working with some people who do this type of alternative work and with muscle testing and doing different things. And as it happens, I just kept on meeting more and more people who do this type of work. And I just got so into it that I just made it what I need to do. And what I've now found after 5 years of doing this is that this is what I've meant to be doing my whole life. And because I picked it up so quickly, found I was intuitive, found I could do some things psychically, and and work with this type of thing open-mindedly, I just know that this is what everything I've done in my life has set up for me to do what I'm doing now.
Sounds fabulous. Let's talk about health. We just recently did one that was really quite alarming a few days ago. And as far as the health problems that you are dealing with, in other words, the people that come in, the pets or whatever it is that you're going to be working with, whomever, what would you say the problems are? And then let's talk about the root cause of those problems. So what are most of the health problems that you're coming across?
The majority, most people who come to see me, have let's say blood sugar imbalances and general lots of aches and pains in the body, lots of sore knees, lots of stiff backs, lots of problems that, for the most part, the medical community says we can't find anything wrong. So that's where my biggest amount of people are coming in from, is they've gone through the whole medical system, seen specialists for years, and they come to see me. I take one look at them, they tell me what's going on, and I say, you've got a parasite, you've got a virus, you've got something. And we do certain things to get to that point by using a pendulum, which is a system I've developed myself with a series of charts. I also use live blood analysis. So I've got a few different ways to determine what may be the health problem, and 99% of the time, it's right. So what I generally find is the root cause to all these different problems. If you look at disease in itself or illness, whatever it is, let's say you've got diabetes. You have to look at everybody with diabetes differently. Everybody's got the diabetes for their own specific reason. Same with anything else, any other health problem whatsoever. If you take diseases, illnesses like fibromyalgia, ALS, whatever it is, those are all just basically badges that the medical community has made up that they let you wear to say you have this disease, you have that illness. So what I do is I look in to find the absolute root cause of what's going on.
Now, is the root understood? First of all, we all know that with Western medicine, unfortunately, there are a lot of diseases but no cures. And then basically, I mean, it's just so apparent and rapid.
I've lost you, Roxy.
Yeah, she keeps dropping. I'm going to call her cell phone. Roxy,
Sorry.
are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You keep dropping. I'm going to call your cell phone. Oh, son, it ain't wanting to put your number in there now.
Hold on. Hold tight if anybody can hear me on the air or not. We're having some technical difficulties, and Thomas is trying to call me on my phone, but my phone's not ringing.
Nope, it's not.
So my cell phone isn't ringing, and it's also got a full charge, and
I can't get the number to post in there. I got to write it down.
Okay.
Somebody didn't want us to talk tonight.
I guess not. Well, it's so bad that we're going to have to switch me onto a cell phone because it's that bad. I'm dropping in and out for no apparent reason on my end. I'm not having any slowness. Okay, here we go.
Mute your Skype.
Hello.
Roxy?
Yes.
There we go.
Okay, great.
Mute your Skype, though, so we don't get a feedback.
Yes, doing that right now. There you go. Okay, so now we can have a better conversation. Sorry about that, audience, and sorry about that, Chris. That we have no idea what was happening there, and we couldn't solve it. So occasionally this happens. I want to focus on what you were talking about in regards to the root cause, and what I had mentioned was Western medicine basically prescribing drugs to treat symptoms rather than, to treat mask symptoms, I should say, and not treat the actual diseases, etc. Treating not the cause. And so, where do you lie within that realm of thinking?
Well, what I do is I really look deep into what exactly is a health problem. So let's take some examples. I've had some people come in with psoriasis, eczema, skin problems, and that type of thing. And specialists will give people steroid creams and all different, and people will try different things like aloe vera or whatever to try and get rid of it. And it does make it better, but what happens is whatever is causing a problem is suppressed and pushed back in the body. And most of the time, when somebody comes in with, let's say, a skin problem like that, it's going to be a parasite. IBS is going to be a parasite. You know, most health problems, probably 50 to 75%, are caused by some kind of parasite. And a simple live blood analysis will show you that it's definitely a parasite. So when I use my pendulum, it tells me there's a parasite. So I take a blood sample, put it on my microscope, voila, you see parasites. Now, it goes a lot deeper than that to find exactly what a health problem is. And unfortunately for the medical community, they don't look spiritually into what can be. What I find that goes along with a lot of serious health problems is the spiritual end of things, which for the most part is going to be some kind of a spirit attachment, like a ghost, a poltergeist, a spirit that is there, that is attached onto your body in a certain area that causes weakness, and it contributes to the health problem. And quite often, more than not, there is always some type of black magic, voodoo, or witchcraft spell or curse that is occurring along with that. And that goes deep into different types of areas. A lot of people think, wow, you know, a voodoo spell or witchcraft, that's somebody sticking pins in a doll and having a seance and conjuring up ill will to me. A voodoo spell, black magic, and all that type of thing can be as simple as somebody thinking negative about you. Thoughts are energy.
Chris, what about with animals, though?
Animals?
I mean, IBS, you mentioned IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome.
Right.
You mentioned that, and it's epidemic with humans, farm animals, and domestic animals.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You do any kind of parasite cleanse on an animal, and the problem is probably going to go away as long as that's what the problem is. I always tell all my clients, anybody who's got a health concern, if you got a health problem that doesn't go away, do a parasite cleanse. If it's still there after that, then it's something else.
Mm-hmm. Well, and in the Western medicine, they do not identify anything like Crohn's or irritable bowel disease, irritable bowel syndrome, all of the above. They don't address the word parasite. Never comes up.
No, basically in the medical system, they have to see one crawling out of your butt or out of your ears for them to say, oh, look, it's a parasite. If you ever look at the symbol that the medical academies or medical societies use, it's a cross with two serpents wrapping around the shaft of it, okay? And what that is, in Africa, there's a certain parasite that will start to crawl out of your skin. And what they do is they wrap that parasite around a stick and they twist it out. That's what that whole symbol manifested from, is wrapping that parasite around a stick. So why they don't look for parasites is beyond me. That's their symbol, the serpent around a cross.
That's interesting. Is that truly the origin of the medical symbol?
Yeah, it is.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Well, and in Africa, you like you just mentioned, they actually still practice magic in healing and so forth. I can name a few cultures that still practice. You know, my family's origin is Portugal. My own grandmother, you know, who was a practicing Catholic, mind you, had these witch doctor type healers when she got very sick. And I have to say to you, you're kind of blowing my mind, Chris, because one time my grandmother was sick. This was before I was born. She was bedridden. She was only in her 30s. She was bedridden for about a year when they actually got one of the Portuguese witch doctors over to her house. And after they were done, the first time they came, whatever they did, they literally, what you're describing, when my parents told me the story when I got older, they literally pulled something out of my grandmother's body without doing surgery. And then my grandmother got up and out of the bed after being literally bedridden for a year and was up and moving and back to teaching school.
I hear stories like that all the time.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
And welcome back to the show. My goodness, what kind of day? Is it a full moon? Do we have a full moon
I
today?
believe it's a full moon tonight.
Is that right? Well, goodness gracious, it's got some energy going on because it's just interfering with everything today. I wish I would have known that earlier today. I did see the moon out, though. Okay, so the point I was making when we were just discussing the voodoo aspect, let's say, or the witchcraft and healing, Chris, was that the story I was telling you about my grandmother took place in the early 50s. And what I don't see anymore, of course, I never seen it really in my lifetime, but it seems like the grandparents and great-grandparents all were sort of, didn't matter what religion they were. Like I said, my grandmother was a very strict Catholic. Yet they used these types of healers outside of the typical medical field. These healers that would come in and do this, and you said you heard these stories before. So is this something that you do as well?
Oh, absolutely. I've done a lot of extensive research into exactly what voodoo and black magic and all these things are, because ultimately, to understand something, to work with it and remove it with energy, you have to understand it. You have to know what you're looking for and how to work with it. So I've got, I'll give you a couple of case examples that I've been working with from one extreme to another. The first time I worked with removing a voodoo spell, and when I do my work, it's all about intent. I intend to move this voodoo spell. So with the tools that I have, we'll talk about the tools later. I use pyramids and different sacred geometry that creates an energy. When I make the intent to remove the voodoo spell, it just lifts and it's energy. It's gone. And generally, it goes back to the person who is sending it. Now, the first time I ever really realized that this is something significant, an uncle of mine, he wanted to see what I did. So he says, Chris, show me this crazy energy stuff that you do. You know, he wants to kind of learn a bit about it. So I says, okay, what kind of health problems do you have? He says, well, every night before I go to bed, I get a pain in my shoulder blades. And I can't sleep at night. It only happens at night. I wake up in the morning, it goes away. So I says, okay, let's look and see what it is. So I asked my pendulum, what's causing this problem? And it went to a chart that said voodoo spell. And I looked at him and says, Mike, you've got a voodoo spell. And he looked at me and rolled his eyes a bit, and he said, oh, wait a minute. That damn ex-wife of mine, they're always yelling at each other and arguing. And she is thinking negatively, always talking behind his back. Thoughts are energy, and it's affecting his health. When I removed the voodoo spell that night, that pain went away and never came back. So that told me right there that, okay, negative thoughts are considered a type of voodoo or black magic, okay? So that showed me there. Now, I've got a client in Florida I've been working with quite a while now. This is the other end of the scale. This is the deep end of it. She had a boyfriend, and his mother came to live with her for quite a while. And all of a sudden, this lady starts getting a lot of health problems, a lot of digestive issues. She starts losing her jobs. All kinds of bad stuff starts happening to her. And later on, after this lady moved out, she found out that this lady, her boyfriend's mother, was into black magic and voodoo, to the point where this lady had 14 kids from 14 different men, took 3 of the babies, used them as sacrifices to raise her level of energy within the dark arts, okay? To this day, right now, this person is experiencing severe health problems. And just yesterday, I'm talking with her, and I said, you got to go through your whole house and find everything that ever belonged to this woman and get rid of it. She found a big lump of hair that this person had tucked away in a corner of the house so that her DNA is there so that she can keep on doing voodoo spells on this person. So I've gone from one end to the other, and understanding it exactly makes a huge difference. Now, if you look at voodoo in different cultures and communities, if you're in let's say Louisiana, it's mojo voodoo or something. If you're in Germany, it's a hex. Africa, it's something else. Now there's a form of voodoo called jinn voodoo, Jinn, and jinn in Arabic means genie. So it kind of takes you back to the story of Aladdin's lamp, where he rubs the genie and he gets 3 wishes. Well, when he's made those 3 wishes, he sold his soul to the devil. So he gets what he wants, but he has sold his soul. So I've gone all different forms of it. Now, when you do remove all these different types of curses, there's going to be another underlying problem with the health problem, like a parasite. Parasites can be manifested through voodoo.
Right. Interesting that you're talking about that. And I do want to come back to another point that you made, but the story that I told you about my grandmother, by the way, it was an intestinal problem. That much I know. My grandmother couldn't eat. She couldn't process food, and she was literally bedridden, almost crippled. So that's interesting that you're talking about this. Now, again, it's fair to say that I do know some healers. I know some very powerful healers where I'm from in Hawaii, who do curse removals, things like that. They are sure of it. They know by certain symptoms that somebody has a curse on them. And then the kahunas that I know in Hawaii do the same thing. And kahuna, they are practicing spiritualists as high up as you can get in the culture of Hawaii. And this is what they do day and night. They also practice hours of meditation sometimes for another human being that is ill. And it seems to work. People keep, coming back to these individuals. So there is an aspect of this that I can completely understand what you're doing, and thank you for your work. I appreciate it. I'm sure there are a lot of people who appreciate it. When it comes to, back to the question early in the show, what about animals? How is an animal, like farm animals that have IBS or Crohn's or what have you, how did they get it? Or domestic cats and dogs, how did they get it? I mean, did another animal put a curse on them? And I'm not saying this to be funny, or right. Did somebody put a curse on the farm or that family so their animals got sick? Or what's your feeling on that when it comes to really innocent animals?
Well, when it comes to that type of thing, yeah, if they're on a farm and let's say there's a battle between 2 farmers or there's a family feud going on, of course, that somebody can inadvertently, subconsciously put a negative type of spell or energy within the whole farm so that, everybody gets sick or the farm isn't productive or the pigs they're raising aren't up to grade so they can't sell them and make money. All that thing does come into play when it comes to, that type of energy realm and people are always, infighting and that type of thing. And then, of course, also you have to look at the parasite aspect and bacterial infections and viruses will spread very quickly within a barn scenario, and poisons are always available to anybody. Anybody can walk on a farm and throw some poison in a pig trough and poison somebody's pigs, of course. But the same way that people can get that type of an environment as an illness, animals can also get it too. Now, do animals put it on each other? Well, I don't know. Of course, I'm not a dog. I can't speak for the dogs, but You have to think that maybe in one way, shape, or form that can happen.
Wow, that's beyond my understanding. But of course, like you said, it's a realm that you need to be open to, and I can appreciate that. Now, the history. Let's just say a person comes to you, Chris, in need of something. Maybe let's use migraines. They've been getting migraines. Okay. And the migraines have been, pretty much accepted by the patient as something that they've had ongoing. So would their history, when they come to you, how do you ID the root cause of their migraine? Just give us an example.
Well, what I'll do is they'll tell me the symptoms they're having. They say, okay, Chris, I've got this migraine. It's in a certain part of my head. I've had it for 6 years on and off, and it just doesn't go away. Nothing works. So they've given me a basic symptom. And what that does with myself, my pendulum, and my spirit guides is that it sets the focus. Okay, we're going to find out what's causing the migraines. So I'll take my pendulum with the very large set of charts I have, and the first thing I do is I ask what question to ask when you're using a pendulum. The question is more important than the answer. If you ask the right question, you get the right answer. Sometimes, if there is some type of spirit involved or even an ET involved, it's going to try and skew the energy so that I can't find it. So if I ask the question properly, I can find it. So 9 times out of 10, it'll ask the question, where's the lowest level of vitality in the body? What part of the body needs healing? So then I'll go and I'll ask what area needs healing, and it'll say the brain. Okay, it's a migraine. It's in the brain, or it could be a muscular migraine too. But let's use the brain as an example. So then I'm going to ask, what is the stressor? What's causing the migraine? What's causing the problem in the brain? And with the set of charts I've developed, they're very, very open. Okay, I don't work within any box at all. I consider any problem that you can think of as a possible issue within the brain. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be an iron buildup or a calcium buildup within the brain. It could be a virus, could be a parasite, could be a few different things. Generally, it's parasite, virus, bacteria, heavy metal like iron, lead, mercury, that type of thing, spiritual attachment, and maybe a few other choice things. But those are the basics. And once I find those things, what I'm going to do is take my large pyramid. Now, I've got a picture of it on my website, and I've got a lot of videos on YouTube that people can see it on. It's called a Silver Light Pyramid. It's something I developed with my toolmaker in Alberta, Canada. What I do is I hold the pyramid over the person's head, and I just say the words, neutralize, eliminate calcium, excess calcium, or excess iron, or if it's a parasite, eliminate the parasite. And immediately, through quantum physics, the energy of whatever is within the brain is neutralized and gone. It just doesn't exist anymore. And within 24-hour period, the person starts to notice that the migraines aren't there anymore. As soon as the body recognizes that the problem is gone, the migraines go away.
Isn't that interesting? That's fantastic. That's mind-blowing. That is absolutely mind-blowing.
And ultimately, Roxy, it works. I mean, sometimes I got to get up and pinch myself every day as to the work I'm doing. This is working so well for me that I've got an office in a holistic healthcare center in Winnipeg. I do this 5 days a week, 10 hours a day, sometimes 12 hours a day. I could work weekends if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I got a family. It's working so well. I've got clients all over the world doing this because it's energy. You can do it on the telephone. You can do it over Skype. The energy.
I was just going to ask if you have patients or clients, I should say, that you work with over the phone and et cetera. And you just said it because it's energy. Yes. So yeah,
that's right. Most of my clients are in the States, California, Florida, Bismarck, North Dakota. For some reason, is huge into this, but people in the States, if you got to pay for a procedure, why spend $50,000 when you can spend $55 and get the problem taken care of. And people
now, do
notice
the
the difference
clients
right
have
away.
to come back to you for different things, or to work on a particular problem more than once, or how does that work?
Sometimes it's multiple sessions. Generally, for, let's say you got a migraine, it might take 2 or 3 sessions to completely get rid of all the underlying problems. If you've got, let's say, severe MS or cerebral palsy, or something really huge like that you've had chronic all your life, well, it's going to take multiple sessions of running energy to bring the vitality back up and to get rid of the problem. But generally, you know what, for one small issue, sometimes one treatment is all people need. And I'm the type of guy who's very, very proud of what I do, and I want to get to the problem as quick as possible, take as little money from you as possible, and do the job as quick as I can. So you're a happy camper, and you tell more people about me.
I've got a question coming in. Someone is asking, Andrea is asking about pendulums. She wanted to find out a little bit more about it because she's learning how to use them right now.
Okay.
Is there somewhere, you can talk about it now, of course, too, but is there anywhere on your website as well that folks can read about how the pendulums work as well?
No, I really don't get into that because ultimately a pendulum is something very, very personal for a person. The way I use my pendulum is very unorthodox. If somebody was to teach you how to use a pendulum, I just completely blow that out of the water, and I've got my own way of doing it where people look and say, well, your hand is moving, and my hand moves like crazy because I give the pendulum motion because I need to find a health problem now. I can't wait 20 minutes for the pendulum to find an answer. I got to find it within 10 seconds. So I do it very differently, and I do help some people who want to learn how to use a pendulum, how to use charts, how to do this type of work so you can, like, let's say, work on your own family, work on your own healing, and learn a bit more about it. Some people like to do it as a hobby. And I guide people to it, and ultimately, that's the key word, is guide. Is you're working with spirit guides that actually give the pendulum direction, okay? So you got to know who your guides are. You got to know how to work with them and that type of thing. So I help out with that.
Now, why do you call it quantum energy health?
Because we're working at the quantum level, okay? The word
Explain
quantum.
That. What does that mean to us?
The word quantum means the smallest measurable amount of something. So when you're looking at energy, the quantum of energy is the smallest measurable amount, and that is a light photon. That's a light particle. Okay, in Sweden or France, whatever it is, they've got that big hadron collider, and they're taking light particles and they're bumping them together and trying to make the God particle. That's basically what we're working with: quantum energy through quantum physics, the smallest measurable amount of energy, and it has consciousness. Okay, you can look at a lot of different sites on YouTube, and you Google or do a search on quantum physics, and you'll see some really cool demonstrations on how they work with light particles, with different things involved, and it kind of puts things into perspective a little bit about quantum energy and exactly how it works. It has consciousness. I tell it to do something, it happens.
Interesting. So that's fascinating. So. Which is why your work is actually showing good results, because you're sort of rounding up these at a quantum level. Sounds like whatever. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the cells or whatever is ailing this individual, and you're rounding them up and you're giving them an order.
That's
and
right.
then, I'm simplifying this, but you're giving them an order, and then they leave the body because you told them what to do and told them what you needed them to do.
That's
so
right.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, and the reason why I have to find out exactly what it is. I just can't say, virus, leave the body. I have to douse to see what virus it is. Okay, it's just like hide and seek. If it's you're playing hide and seek and it's 1, 2, 3, you say 1, 2, 3 on Roxy, but it's really Chris. Well, Chris isn't caught. Same thing in the universe and the energy quantum world is that if you identify something, universal law says it has to do what you tell it to do.
Is that right?
It is.
It's interesting that you use the terminology hide and seek, because some of the naturopaths and others that I've had on the show that would discuss this quantum energy and healing. One of the doctors that I've had on quite a few times, his name's Dr. Will Spencer. He actually talks about how pathogens literally hide in the body. They actually play hide, and you've got to go find them. You've got to go looking for them. You know, it's very interesting also because what's coming to mind at this very moment is, for some strange reason, Chris, what's coming to mind is biblical for me at this moment. I remember reading something regarding, I believe it was Christ's teachings, and when he was doing miraculous healing, he had made a mention as well when it came to darker energies or the devil or what have you, is when he called them by name, they had to leave the bodies of those he was working on.
That's right. Now, I remove demonic presences from people on a daily basis. And you have to identify. Oh, yes. The devil, if you got a child with ADD, HDD, or autism, that child has the devil. 99% of the time, that child's going to have the devil within them. Oh, easy. I'm working on...
Does this alarm you?
It used to, but now it's just normal day-to-day.
I'm like, my jaw's dropped.
Yeah, for me, it's like, I come home, my wife says, how was your day? I says, well, I'll remove the devil from somebody's day. Well, that's nice. You know, it's a day-to-day thing. And
now let's not go too fast. Let's back up the train a little bit. So removing demonic presences or attachments, if you will, from a body, do you find that they're in more children than adults, or is it random?
It's pretty much it's nothing personal to anybody. You know, children of course are a little more susceptible. They're more inviting. But I don't think there's more in children than there is adults. It's very much, basically everybody has got some kind of demonic energy or presence within their body. I don't care if you're the Pope. You've got some kind of demonic influence within you, because if you got God, you've got the devil. It just, they have to exist together, okay? There's good, there's bad. There's good conscience, there's bad conscience. It all has to balance out, okay? But right now we're getting into an era where the energy is shifting in the earth. We're coming into the fifth dimension, which means anything satanic, all that dark stuff is going to be washed away, and it's going to be nothing but good for people who want it.
Yeah, we'll discuss that. I want to definitely get into that the next hour, because there are a lot of people having a lot of questions about that as well. But back to let's talk about it, the experience with removing demonic, I should say, presences. Now, let's move beyond, if we could for a moment, hypothetically, move beyond the God, devil factor. Is it possible that the attachments, good and bad, love and hate, light and dark, all of this, that it's a paradigm of sorts in which is dimensional that we live in, and therefore we sort of harbor it? What happens? Does the body become imbalanced when you remove that balance, which is what I just explained? Does the body become imbalanced now?
No, it is a balance, but it's also a balance that the body can live without in a better way. Now, it's kind of tough to explain, because if we don't have dark, we don't know what light is. If we don't have pain, we don't know what not pain is. If we don't have bad, we don't know what good is. So we really do need this type of negative energy to show us that there is something better out there. Okay. Now, we certainly can live without the devil and Satan and all these negative things within our life. Does it put the balance out? What it does is it doesn't put the balance out. It removes the balance, and it makes our bodies in complete peaceful harmony with itself and with God. So when you take the scale out of the equation, what's left is peace and light.
Well, and what you're describing as well, we all know that, like, for instance, an example, the human body has bacteria in it, in the intestines to help digest food, let's say.
Good bacteria, bad bacteria, right?
That's right. And so I would imagine that anything that gets out of whack, bad bacteria, there's too much of it, whatever, that's what cancer is, a cell that overproduces, mirrors itself, and now you've got too many of them and it's running crazy in the human body, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, I think what you are describing, just from where I'm standing, it appears that you remove the overloads or the too much of this and too much of that, whatever, and that is in essence, what returns the body back to its natural state or balance.
That's a good way to put it. I really like the way you said that. That's a very good way to put it.
Okay, that's okay. I just trying to understand it. Okay, so great. And in your mind's eye, when you're working with an individual, let's say, can you tell me what it feels like or looks like? Basically, feels or looks would be my question. A demonic presence in the body. What does that feel like to you as the practitioner?
Generally, for everything that I remove, if it's a virus, if it's a voodoo witchcraft spell or the devil, to me it's all the same.
Okay.
The energy that I feel, I don't see anything, I don't hear anything. Everything with me is with the pendulum and with the tools that I use. So when I'm using my big pyramid to remove, let's say, the devil out of somebody, I hold it over their head and I use certain words. Now, what I use as an energy intent is something called the Red Bull. Not Red Bull drink, but it's called the Red Bull, and it's a mixture of let's say, the diamond flame and blue light. You mix those together, you get something called the Red Bull. When you use that, it gets the devil.
We're back. Thanks for joining us, The Truth Tonight. I'm Roxy Lopez. My guest this evening, Chris Kehler. And, hey, I just want to let you know something on this wonderful Friday. First of all, I want you to all have a great weekend, those of you who have weekends off. And number two is I want to thank you. Revolution Radio is listener-supported. And I want to thank all of you that have kept me on the air via donation, or you subscribe to the archives, or whatever it is that you're doing to participate in keeping Revolution Radio alive. I just want to thank you very much, and please continue the support as we need it. We're growing exponentially because of you, and I just want to thank you so much. So keep us alive, keep us on the air. It is a new world in which we are able to talk about the truth on the air, and I think that the public, the listening public, truly appreciates us. So thank you again for everything you've done to keep us on the air. So, Chris, we were talking about the removal. You were giving us an example of the removal of something, whether it be demonic or something where an individual, a client is sick, and you're
right.
removing something from them, and what it's like for you. And I guess what I wanted to ask you, and of course, if you were listening to the first hour, people, Chris is saying he asks different things to leave people's bodies, disease, whatever it may be, even demonic presences, attachments, curses, also, and they leave his clients' bodies. Here's what I wanted to say, because you did mention, Chris, that you hold a pendulum or something above their head, and your clients and whatever, and the ritual in which you practice. And I want to know if indeed, just to rule this out, because I know that listeners are thinking about this right now, but how do we know that what changes that individual for the better is not a placebo type effect or a power of suggestion effect?
Well, we could definitely get into what exactly placebo and power of suggestion. But ultimately, when I'm doing the work, okay, I hold the pyramid over somebody's head, I say the words, and when the pyramid kicks in and the energy starts leaving, you actually feel, let's see, like pinpricks on top of your head or your shoulders. Sometimes you feel a grumbling happening within your body. Sometimes you get what's called the energy shift, where it feels like your body is all of a sudden in an elevator and you feel like this movement of energy through your body. Quite often, if somebody comes in with pain at a level 8, they leave with a level 2. So they know something is going on. They know they trust the system, they trust me, and they just know when they come see me, it's going to work. 99% of all my clients are basically people who've heard from somebody else. They're all referrals. So they've seen that somebody's come to see me, their problem's gone. Well, let's give it a try with my problem. So the whole placebo thing or power of suggestion, you can call what I'm doing power of suggestion because I'm telling this problem to go away, and it's doing it at the quantum level. So you really have to understand what is happening at the suggestion level or the placebo level. If you take a pill full of white powder that does nothing, it's inert, and you take a pill that's antibiotic, and you've got an infection, if you tell the person that this pill with nothing in it is going to clear that infection, you've just put intent into that pill. So the person takes it. Now the intent is going through their body to kill the infection.
And they've proven over and over again that in case studies that sometimes it works is for 90% of the people in the room. And all it was a sugar pill or nothing. Mm-hmm. The power of influence is really what it sounds like. The power of influence, to be able to influence not only the client, but to influence the body at the quantum level that such and such needs to take place, and it follows suit. Is quantum healing something new?
Well, no. Quantum, working with I call it quantum healing. That's what my guides want me to call it, quantum healing. If you look at things like Reiki and quantum touch and EFT and all these other different modalities, they've been around for centuries. Like Reiki is ancient old. It's all working with God energy, the quantum God particle, and making changes. Their body is the tool, where I hold a tool in my hand. A lot of people look at me and say, oh, come on, if you're that good, you can just use your hands and get rid of it. Well, I am using my hands. My hands are holding a tool. But you're working at that level. You're working with God energy to make the changes.
Okay, and I'm glad that you brought up, you read my mind, things like Reiki and acupuncture would probably be another one, different modalities that have been around for ancients were using them, mm-hmm. passed down through the centuries, and as well. And so would you say also, and this is a very important question, Chris, would you say that because of these this modality that is available, quantum healing, and specifically what you are using, the pyramid and the other I'm looking tools okay. that you choose to use, okay, such as the pendulum, etc. Is it also very important when somebody is ill and they're going to choose somebody like yourself to be a part of, because I find it to be a shared healing episode.
Right.
Okay. You and client sharing. Is it really important for the client to know, in other words, your identity, Chris, your true identity? How does a client know that you are an authentic healer, practitioner? How would they know?
Well,
I know that you said that your clients share with other other
yeah.
friends and family. I do get that. So a major part of you is a referral. So I do get that. I'm just saying, for those who are listening that want to trust, because there's
mm-hmm.
there are a lot of people out there in the world that are practicing not what you're practicing. It's not authentic. It's not clean. It's not clear. It's for the money. You know what I'm talking about.
Charlatans, yes.
Charlatans, exactly.
Yeah.
So how would we know, as prisoners of disease, let's call it, how would we know at that moment that we're that you are the person we can trust? How do we know? What do we look for in our own life? How do we know?
I think that the biggest word you just said is trust. Okay, I do realize that people are entrusting me to get rid of their health problem, and they're coming to me, looking up to me, saying, "Can you please fix this?" Now, of course, you have to have a comfort level if you're going to work with anybody. And number one is word of mouth. So if you heard of somebody who says, "I had great results with working with so and so," then you're going to have already a comfort level. What I try to do, and through radio, wonderful shows just like yours, is to get the word out about the work that I'm doing, about the work that anybody is doing, that energy work is something that works and you can believe in it. But, like you just said, anybody and their dog can say, "I'm an energy healer, and if you give me $100, I'm going to get rid of your health problem," and nothing happens. What I do is I've got about 50 videos on YouTube that show how my work works, and I've actually have got some demonstrations where if you're holding onto your computer and looking at one of my videos, you're going to feel the energy of one of the tools that I use. I've got a video on YouTube that if you got a headache, you watch the video, your headache goes away. So my favorite saying is the proof is in the pudding. You're going to come see me. It's not going to cost you a lot of money. I'm very, very specific on charging as little money as I can to fix your health problem as quick as I can. It's only $55 a session. Most people spend that on lunch sometimes. There's lots of people who do my type of work who'll charge you $300, $400 an hour.
Or more.
That is, to me, is just ego, greed, stupidity, and you're milking people's wallets who are looking for an answer. And for me, there's going to come a day where financially I'm well off and I'm going to do this work for free, okay? This is God's work. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this to help people with health problems. Money comes along with doing good work so I can support my family. I've got 2 or 3 other businesses on the side that are starting to generate income. Once that income is big, healing work is free. It should be free anyway.
Oh, I agree with you there. A lot of things should be free.
Yes.
I really, and I think we are actually, as a human, as our consciousness is growing, as we're expanding, as we're developing, evolving, what have you, I think we're starting to realize that. I think we're starting to catch on. Chris, we've got a caller. Would you like to take a call?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's see. Caller in the 347 area code, if you'd like to come onto the air, welcome to the Truth and I Talk Radio. And our guest this evening is Chris Kehler. Do you have a question for him?
Absolutely. It's a pleasure meeting you, Chris and Roxy, both. A great show, by the way.
Nice to meet you as well. What's your name?
My name is Joaquin. I'm calling from New York City.
Joaquin. Thank you, Joaquin, for calling the show. What can we do for you tonight?
Yes, pertaining to demonic possessions in the Bible, I've kind of studied the Bible almost all my life, or more than half my life, actually. And in the Bible, in the New Testament, and especially in the 4 Gospels, demonic possessions weren't viewed as such the way we view them today. If you look at them, there were more physical illnesses and mental illnesses and physical infirmities. For instance, in Luke 9:37-40, it says that a boy was possessed with a spirit and that convulsed him, and he foamed from the mouth. Today we can view that as epilepsy. In Luke 11:14, it says Jesus was casting out a demon that was a mute. Obviously, if I had a child today who was born mute, I wouldn't say she or he was possessed with a demon. In Luke 13:10-13, a woman had a spirit. They said that she had a spirit of infirmity, or back infirmity, that she was bent over for 18 years. And probably the most famous demonic possession is the man possessed with legion, that when Jesus asked him, what's your name? He said, my name is Legion, for we are many, which could be viewed as schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder. 2,000 years ago, these people were ignorant of modern-day medicine. Can it be possible that these people back in the day were ignorant of modern-day medicine and didn't know and couldn't diagnose these physical illnesses and mental illnesses and physical infirmities and view them as demonic possessions? Also, can it be possible the lower astral extraterrestrials play the role as demonic entities, knowing how people of faith view demonic possessions today in this day and age?
Okay, I'll answer your second question first. Extraterrestrials play a very big part in demonic possession. You've got, let's say, the devil or Satan, whatever you want to call him, Beelzebub, and he sits in his big chair, and he gets the ETs to carry out what he wants to do. The great aliens, the Zeta Reticuli, and the reptilians are very big into this. They work for the devil doing certain things. So yes, there is a big extraterrestrial influence, and along with demonic stuff, I also remove all Zeta Reticuli, the gray aliens. I find quite often people have been abducted, and I work with that to remove tracking devices and the whole bit. So yes, there is definitely an ET involvement along with a demonic thing. Now, the first question, I'm not exactly 100% think I understand it. But you know, if you look at schizophrenia and that type of thing, yes, there's going to be some kind of demonic, some kind of spiritual attachment. If it's not the devil, well, it's going to be something close to it, like a poltergeist or an ET or something like that, and that's going to be accompanied by Lyme disease or something. Back in biblical times, when you read the Bible, the only book I really pay attention to is Revelations. That's probably the only book that's got the most truth into it. But you have to look and see how things are written within the Bible and how the story is told. So you don't, of course, hear the whole story about something. You hear the very big part that makes a statement. So people who had a demonic possession back then, of course, you didn't stop to think that is the devil causing this person to be a crazy person or something like that. You just looked upon it as part of the story.
Or maybe it was an illness or a sickness that these people couldn't diagnose and didn't because they were ignorant.
Right, and they didn't know how to diagnose it. But you know what?
Exactly.
You look back in biblical times, was there chemtrailing? Was there GMO foods? Was there all these different things that were never introduced back then that caused help? Back then it was all bacteria and viruses and parasites. That was probably the three biggest things. Heavy metals probably didn't exist, you know, in the processing of foods and that type of thing. So there was very little that can go on. You had the Black Plague and all these different things that, of course, would cause a person to get sick with bacterial infections and everything. So of course, they couldn't diagnose it, so they would think, oh, that person's sick, he's got the devil. Okay? They would just jump to that conclusion because that's what they knew. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for asking my question. And Roxy, thank you for taking my phone call, actually.
Thank you, Joaquin.
Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Joaquin, and brilliant questions and great observation. Thanks so much for calling.
Thanks. Take care.
Take care now. So, no, I liked Joaquin's point of view because, like he was saying, what if all the stories that were told about, you know, people who had epilepsy or leprosy or blind, deaf, you know, all the rest of it, crippled, all the rest, what if it was just, and rumored back in the day, or so it has been written, you know, these people were attacked by the devil. And Joaquin made a very good point, Chris, that what if it was just all sort of medically related, and they just didn't know what to call all of this, so they just called it a devil.
Yes. You know, back in Egyptian times, there was no word for the devil. They called it chaos. Your body was in chaos. They didn't know anything about Satan or the devil. Yeah. So they had their own way of looking at it. Very
interesting. Oh, sure. And even in the modern world, as what you work with as well, Chris, you know, we're still, you know, you personally remove demonic presences in the body. And another question that I think would be relative to the conversation would be, Chris, do you think that sometimes when you're removing something from somebody that it's not from this lifetime? In other words, is the root problem spiritual, and the problem, the sickness, the illness, the dis-ease, is it following on a soul level?
Yeah, it could very well, and my pendulum will tell me that it's something from a past life. We just cut the cords and the connections to that past life, so that whatever it is can now leave. Because yes, something will follow a soul from one life to another life, especially, family curses, family things like that can follow, in the DNA. It'll attach to the DNA, and then it just gets recreated all the time.
Sure. And the other question I have is, do we need to be sick? In other words, is sickness something that's maybe a penance for something we've done bad, or just another way of us focusing more inside of ourselves to live upright, spiritually upright eventually, or what have you? What is sickness, from you, the practitioner's eyes? What is sickness? What's its relative value? What's it for?
Well, I think there's a few different answers and opinions and perspectives on that. Of course, if we were never sick, we'd never know what good health really is. So now we always have to be given challenges, okay? A challenge with our health, a challenge with our jobs, a challenge with life in general, okay? So when we rise above those challenges, we go up more levels in energy. We get stronger. We overcome things. If you can overcome cancer, what kind of feeling is that? Now you've just climbed Mount Everest, okay? So by having those challenges to work with and to set your level of what am I going to do next kind of thing, I think it's a good thing that sometimes there is illness. I can't remember the last time I was ever sick. I feel something coming on, I get rid of it right away. But look at the level I'm at. So I've overcome illness myself. So do we need sickness? Do we need the devil? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe some people do. Maybe some people don't.
Right, that makes sense. That's a great answer, actually. Can we talk about sacred geometry? How did you stumble into sacred geometry? What is exactly sacred geometry, and how do you use it?
Okay, when I started doing all this stuff, I started muscle testing, and that's, somebody takes a bottle of herbs, puts it against your chest, and you push on somebody's arm to see if there's weakness in that arm or strength, to tell you if that medication is good for you or not. I met somebody in Alberta, Canada, who builds the pyramids, who builds the rings, and there's only one person in the world, one person only, who builds these tools. And this person, his main job is to go into meditation and to clear the earth grid, the energetic earth grid, of all negativity so that the earth can go into fifth dimension consciousness. That is his job. The way he makes money is to make these tools. So his energy, because this guy is like the highest of energy people I've ever met in my life. He's unbelievable. When he builds these tools, his energy goes into them. Now, a lot of the sacred geometry part, if you look at a pyramid, okay, you go back to the pyramids of Egypt. The way a pyramid works is that positive ions will start at the top of the pyramid. As they slope down to the base, they turn to negative ions, which are good ions. Those are the ions that you absorb on a daily basis if you walk barefoot on the ground. And the earth is charged with lightning strikes that create the negative ions. Now, with a pyramid, because of the metals that he uses to build them, which is gold and platinum, those are the two basic energetic metals that do the best. When you give the pyramid intent, it connects to the higher realms of energy, and it amplifies the intent, and it causes it to happen. Now, there's one tool that I use, and we can actually do a demonstration on the air with it if you want. It's called a neutralization ring. And what it is, it's a 13-inch ring that looks like a basketball hoop, and it's got points on the inside of it that point to the middle. And when you stand over this tool, what this does is it begins to pull negative energy out of your body. And that's negative energy you absorb on a daily basis from driving your car in bad traffic, watching the news, watching negativity. You absorb that negativity. And in order to do the work that I do, that's one of the first things I do is I remove negativity. Now, this tool, you do not have to give intent. You just put it on the ground, you stand over it, and it does its job. It just does it because of the design it has. And it goes back to ancient India back in the early Sanskrit days, the design. So do you want to do a little example with this, Roxy?
Well, as long as sure. I mean, is it for everyone that's listening right now?
It's for everyone. Anybody who's listening, as long as you're touching the computer, everybody's listening on the internet right now or on the phone. As long as you're touching whatever you're listening to, if you stand up, I'm going to put my phone within the ring, and I bet you 85% of everybody listening is going to get some kind of result within about a minute or so, okay? Every time I do a radio show, I do this, and everybody gets some kind of relief. Everybody gets to feel it. So we're going to put my phone within the ring, and anybody who's listening, you too, Roxy, just stand up and just relax your body, and within about 30 seconds, you're going to feel a heaviness within your legs, like the ground is trying.
I already feel that.
Feel it? Oh yeah, it can happen pretty quick. You might feel really off balance, like somebody's trying to push you over. You might feel tingling in your fingers or buzzing somewhere. And as the more we do it, the longer we do it, the more intensely it happens. Now, for some reason, working over the phone seems to intensify things also. So I got clients in Australia, halfway around the world who feel this immediately as soon as I put the ring over the phone. People in Germany, Moscow. I've got clients, you name it. Yesterday I worked on somebody in Vietnam. It works. This energy goes through the phone line immediately. It's energy. It goes at the speed of energy, which is faster than the speed of light. So what are you feeling right now, Roxy?
Well, I'm just standing and I'm listening to you, but I'm still blown away because the minute you said you were going to do it, and you said, okay, I'm putting the ring, I really didn't know exactly what you were doing, but right away both of my legs felt really heavy, and I'm just standing in one place. And then you said you're going to feel, so I felt it before you said it, is what I'm trying to say.
And there's no denying that something is happening.
I feel a little hot, like it's weird. It's like the back of my neck and my shoulders and maybe part of the spine. Maybe that's what it is. All of a sudden, I got like a little. It was like a little hot flash, okay. And then where my eyes, the top of my cheeks and my eyes and the top of my head. All of a sudden, I felt like all the energy, which is totally the opposite of anything I've worked with. I felt like the energy rose from my feet all the way up to the very top of my head. And by the way, I didn't tell you this, and I didn't tell my listeners this. I didn't even tell my producer this. But I've had a headache all day long. I don't get headaches, very rarely. Right. So what happened? I didn't tell any of you this, so now I can say something. So what happened is everything rushed, like my legs felt heavy, everything rushed, then it went to the back. I felt like a little bit of a hot flash, and then above my cheeks I felt like a little bit of pressure. And then that headache, all of a sudden I felt more of the headache, but then the headache started to move to the back of my head. So it moved from the front of my head to the back of my head, and that's what's happening right now, and now the headache is kind of almost gone. And welcome back. I'm so sorry I had to interrupt a healing session, Chris, with a commercial. But almost gone. The headache's almost gone.
Okay, let's get rid of the rest of it, shall we? So I'm going to.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to hold it over the phone, and I'm going to tell your headache to go away. Neutralize, eliminate, remove Roxy's headache, please. Completely remove the headache. You're going to feel a tingle on top of your head. Okay, that's a big one. Okay. There's something in there. Something in there moving. Okay, there we go. How's it now?
It's I think it's gone. I'm trying to feel like, because during the break it also started to evaporate a bit. No, it's gone.
Yep.
It's gone. I can honestly say it's gone. I'm feeling my head to see if there's any sore places. No, it's gone. And as a matter of fact, I didn't tell you this, but you probably picked it up. See, my neck was hurting, and that's not hurting anymore either. I'm serious. It's gone.
Nice.
I've had it all day, too. I've had it all day long. Oh, my gosh. Okay, wild. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. That I definitely can't explain, but oh, my gosh, that's really wild. Thank you, Chris. I thought, what a surprise. What a wonderful gift. Wow, I should have called you like this morning. Wow. I feel so much better, even my jaw. And I'm noticing how my jaw was maybe really tight too, because now it feels sort of Gumby-ish. I was feeling like that over the break as well. You know, we've got another caller, Chris. Let's take our caller. I believe it's area code 650. If you're on the line, welcome to the show, and what's your name? Okay, 650, are you there? I see them on, but I don't know. Are you muted, 650? Okay. Well, they've called and they're on hold, but for some reason we can't hear them, and I don't know why, but that's okay. So, Chris, thank you. And wow, I feel like I could use a little nap time now.
You know what? When somebody does feel tired, like drained, that is the sign that we moved some energy out, okay?
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Is that right? Oh, my goodness. Oh, thank goodness you didn't do this at the beginning of the show, because I'm feeling so relaxed. I could literally fall asleep right now, and I mean it. Wow, because, this is amazing.
Think of the
I'm blown away. I'm blown away, Chris. Wow, because now even my neck was really, really tight, and my neck is super loose. And by the way, my legs don't feel heavy anymore.
No, we took you out of that ring, so that's going to stop.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah, my legs I'm still standing up. My legs feel pretty normal. Another thing I'm feeling, and I'm going to share it with the audience, another thing I'm feeling, if this makes any sense at all, I'm feeling like physically lighter.
That's right. We just removed heavy energy out of your body.
Okay. Where did it go?
It just goes into the etheric realms of the universe. It just vanishes. It's gone.
Okay, how do you keep it out?
Well, there is a way you can keep it out. Funny you should
ask. Just put a sign? Dark, dense energy is not allowed here.
Well, it's not as simple as that. Every day you're going to pick up negative energies and that type of thing. Now, the ring that I used, I sell it on my website, okay? It's $50. It lasts forever. You can use it for a gazillion different things. They're wonderful, wonderful rings. I sell hundreds of them, and they work. There's just no denying that it works.
Now, what is the ring? What's it made out of? How does that work?
The components, it's made of copper rod. Okay, copper is a conductor of energy and electricity. The coating is platinum. The small ones are coated with rhodium, which is nickel. And the geometry, the design of it does everything. Okay, it's the intent that the design has. Okay, it's just that's the way it is.
And it's a ring. How big is the ring?
The one that I just used is a 13-inch model. It's a practitioner's model. That one costs about $350. The small ones are 7-inch rings. They can fit in your purse very easily. You can carry it with you everywhere you go. They're nice, small and compact, and they're only $50.
Okay. Wow, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
And did you invent the rings, or how did you come about making them?
All the rings, all the pyramids, all the tools that I use are from one guy only in Alberta, Canada. The name of the company is Crystalline. He builds them and sells them all over the world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you make use of those, is what you're saying.
That's right. And this guy is like a mentor to me. He teaches me a lot of things because he knows everything about the universe. Okay, he has all the answers. He's got things that he will not tell me because if I knew, it could kill me. There are so many secrets out there, so many things to know about the actual universe that not everybody is allowed to know.
Now, do you learn things all the time too? Like, I know that sounds like a silly question, but as much as you already know, so you learn things, and how is that? From reading, or from him, or from your clients, or just
I do not
yourself?
read anything. I do not read books
you
at all
don't?
because I don't want to be influenced by anybody else's philosophies or opinions. So what I do is when I use my pendulum and I'm connected with my guides, I know who my guides are. We have a great working relationship. I have a chart that I use. It's a semicircle chart with slots in it. And I've got letters from A to Z. So I'll ask my guides a question, and they'll spell out the answer in a sentence. And they'll give me information. If there's something I need to know, they'll nudge me, and I will take the pendulum, and it'll spell something out that I need to know.
Wow,
now, here's an
amazing.
Example. Here's an example. Okay, so everybody's heard of Lyme disease, right?
Lyme disease, yes.
Lyme disease. Most people who have fibromyalgia, it's going to be Lyme disease. Now, with Lyme disease, I've done extensive research on it with some other people in Winnipeg, people who've had it, and I've found that it is communicable. You can get it from a mosquito bite. If a mosquito's carrying it, Lyme is a bacteria parasite. Now, when you have Lyme disease, and it's been in your body a certain amount of years, and it's become very manifested and in your body, it becomes something else called Buff's disease, B-U-F-F-S. You'll never find Buff's disease in any medical journals or anything, but what Buff's disease is two things. Number one, it's the secondary component of Lyme disease. So when you have Lyme and it goes to Buff's, you have to remove Buff's disease to remove Lyme disease. You have to do things in order. What else Buff's disease is a veil of information. So if you have Buff's disease, and I'm trying to test you, and I can't find the problem, if I remove Buff's disease, then the problem comes forward. So it's the negative entities or the devil's way of putting a veil in front of me so I can't read it. So you have to remove that to get to the next problem. So that's the way that works. So they teach me this. And they just, all of a sudden, the pendulum starts swinging. Remove Buff's disease. And I'm like, well, what's Buff's disease? And then it explains it. You ask a question, you get an answer. So they're teaching me all the time, all kinds of different tricks, how to use different forms of light and photons and different things to create an energy to go in and attack something. Like the devil has said, when you're removing the devil, use the Red Bull. And I'm like, what's the Red Bull? And it told me it's a combination of different light. And so that's what they do. They teach me, and it works.
That's amazing. You know, Thomas, our producer,
yes.
Is 650 still on the line, Thomas? Because I keep hearing some feedback in the back. Thomas?
I can go ahead and hang up if they.
Well, I've asked them to come on, and they're not saying anything.
But if they
650,
want,
are you there?
If they want to just listen to the show, they need to.
Oh, they want to listen to the show. Okay, yes, they're totally welcome to listen to the show. Just make sure you mute whoever you are, 650, because every now and then I'm hearing some feedback from your phone. So just as long as you keep that phone muted, you can completely listen to the show, no problem. So very interesting stuff. But you say you don't read anything, so how do you find all this stuff out?
My pendulum, my guides, they tell me everything. Now, there's certain things that I get fed information. Somebody will mention something, and I'll kind of keep it in the back of my mind, and maybe sometimes I might need that. But I'm not going to take a course, read a whole book on something, and use that as do-all and end-all. I might take tiny little tidbits of information and incorporate it to what I'm doing. But 99% of the time, I let my guides and my pendulum tell me everything because it is that accurate.
Now, for those of you who are listening, one of the things that you just said, Chris, that's so important, those of you who are out there who work with your guides or who are just new to your guardian angels, let's say, and all the rest of it, and all the callers that are on the line right now, all I ask is that you stay muted, and then we'll call on you to come on to the show. Just stay muted so that your phones don't interfere with the show. Thanks so much for doing that. But what I was going to say, Chris, to the audience is that we all know, anyone who's ever even practiced trying to channel energy or a guide or whatever. What you are saying is absolutely profound, Chris, because it sounds like you have 100% trust and faith in your guides.
You have to. If you don't, as soon as you got any kind of doubt or if you don't think something's right, then you might as well just pack it all up and find another job, because when you put doubt into the factor, you're just knocking yourself out.
I understand, because I've been there, done that. And I know when you question what's coming through, you can actually change it by questioning it and being too afraid to act on it. So you could really change the whole outcome of what your guides are trying to instruct you to do.
Well, when you're working with a pendulum, okay, you can influence the pendulum to go with what you're thinking, your subconscious. But because I've been doing it so long, I do it for a living, I can't influence my pendulum anymore. I'll be thinking something.
Oh, that's great.
And, I cannot influence it anymore.
Well, anybody who influences their pendulum is what I call a magician anyway.
Sure. I mean, you just
so what, I mean, as a healer, why would you even want to do it? So at some point, you were unable to influence your pendulum, which is a really, really amazing progress, is what that is.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. That's fabulous. That's wonderful. Let's see, 917, I don't know if you just joined us to listen or if you wanted to come on the show and ask a question. That's area code 917.
Well,
if you have a question.
Are you there, Roxy?
I am. Who's calling?
Oh, okay. This is Cinderella from the chat room, although I'm not in the chat room now. I just wanted to say that I participated in that healing thing that you just articulate me, right? Yes, that just happened. And
I think it was called neutralizing. I think that's what he called it. It was going to neutralize. Yeah, okay.
I felt it, and how I experience that sort of thing is very visceral. I feel a sort of energy welling up in this deep yawn. It's not a real yawn, but it feels like a yawn. And then when whatever entity or creepy little thing is leaving, I experience a sort of sneeze. It's not doesn't come through the nose, but it's like, sort of a very noticeable explosion. So I just thought I'd share that with you. So I know if I'm doing something good, that it's repelling negative things, and that's how I feel it in my body. That I haven't always had that. Just started happening after I was seeing an energy worker who worked on me a couple of times, and then I thought it was some sort of algorithm or something that she got set, to going. But I asked her about that one day, and she said, "No, I didn't do anything. Just the way you are now." So anyway, I just wanted to chime in that I felt that, and thanks so much for that.
Wonderful. You're welcome.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. I'm glad somebody else that's on Facebook right now had said the same thing, that they also participated in that as well. So wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear that it moved something. You may want to contact Chris after the show.
Yeah, I think I will. Make sure that you repeat his website address.
Oh, I'll always have it, and he's all linked up on my website, and he'll stay there forever and ever and ever, so don't you have to worry about that at all. I just appreciate that you called in and let us all know what your experience was. It really helped, so thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the show, Roxy, and carry on. Stay well. And again,
thank you. Especially you too. Yes, absolutely. Okay. So that's wonderful. So a couple of people already had the experience as well, Chris. So
yes.
And you said that you do it on all the shows. I have to say, when you first had asked me, hey, can we do this on your show? Right there live. I mean, you didn't ask me before the show. I thought for a moment, oh gosh, I don't know what to say. Should I say yes? Should I say no? Like, what's he going to do? Like, what if it does something really strange to everybody and we all just sort of nod out or something? But then there was another source energy that just said, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yep. So there's even that connection that you have to what that you work with. I have a question specifically about that.
Yes.
is this a matter of I am you, you are me, and we are all together? In other words, who you are working with is the same entities that are working with me and everyone else. The same consciousness, maybe I should say.
Well, this is all Christ consciousness. This is all working through Jesus'
That's what I'm looking for.
Yes, exactly. And you asked the question, I have to tell you, okay? This is all through God consciousness, through heaven, through Christ, through the angel I work with is Raphael, the angel of healing. So this is all definitely through the universal realm of Christ and God, okay? That's the best way to put it. Sometimes that kind of puts people off or scares people, but that's what it is. This is healing through God, 100,000%. Okay, that's what it is.
Now, to be clear with our listeners as well, when you say this is God, this is Christ consciousness, etc., you're not talking about it from a religious standpoint,
no,
are you?
Absolutely not. Religion is man-made. This is my opinion, okay? Everybody's got their own thoughts on it, but my opinion is religion is man-made. Christ consciousness and spiritualism is not man-made. So I follow a spiritualist outlook to things, okay? I was brought up a strict Mennonite, okay? My mom is the youngest of 17 kids. My dad is one of 12 kids. They're both gone now. My dad's one of my spirit guides. But I was brought up in a strict religious Mennonite capacity. And I just did not feel good with it growing up. And now I know why, because I realize that religion is man-made. Okay, the New Testament was written by the Romans to facilitate something they wanted done. Okay, the only book, and I believe in the Bible, has any validity is the Book of Revelation. Okay, so that's what I refer to. Other than that, it's all spiritualism. There's nothing religious about this whatsoever.
Interesting. And, just for the record, if you're new to the show, those of you listening, and you don't know how to find information about any and all of our guests, you can always go to thetruthDenied.com, because we have fabulous interviews, as the one we're having tonight with Chris. You're just another one of the most amazing people, Chris, and I'm always just astounded to meet people like yourself. What I love about you is your candor. You're sort of matter of fact, laid back, and the way in which you even express yourself is not demanding of us, the listener. You know what I mean? You're not demanding our attention. You're so easy to listen to.
When you know what you're talking about and you believe what you're talking about and doing, it's very easy to get the point across. And I need to explain this. I'm an educator, okay? I'm a healer. I also need to educate the world that working with energy at this capacity has validity. It works. You can trust it, and it's going to help any health problem whatsoever. So that's what I want to do, and I always try to keep whatever I'm talking about as simple as possible. I don't have to use big words to show how smart I am, because I let the work do it for me. Okay, so I want to talk very simply and let people know that I'm just a normal human being trying to do the best I can for other people.
Right, and you just used the word smart. And, I have to say, when I think of the greats that came before us, the courageous individuals on our planet, and the Christs and the Buddhas and the, Mahatma Gandhi, all of the rest, I don't think of smart. I think of love.
Right.
So I find you to be loving, and smart is, wisdom is part of being all of that, to be truly loving, to be truly beyond self and self-serving, not self-serving, I should say, to be somebody who is of service. I find that those that I interview that are of your same as you, I find you all to have something very much in common, and it's basically you're a life of service, and you're all loving, very loving.
Correct.
Mm. And isn't that something? And oh, my goodness, I have to say, Chris, I had no idea what we were going to talk about this evening, but I am blown away by the conversation, truly blown away by the conversation. And we'll do an article for those listening, and all of the links to, Chris, your website and your YouTube channel, so people can begin to watch some of your, your videos on healing, and so they can become part of the experience as well. And anything else that we can do or provide for you on this end, Chris, we're happy to do.
Wonderful. You know what? I just had a wonderful time with you, Roxy. I love your show. I've listened to it before. I love where you come from, and it's something that people need to hear.
Yeah, people do need to hear, and more people are not only hearing, they're listening. So, this is the idea. So tell me, those who are listening right now that would like to get in touch with you, let's just go over that very quickly before the show ends, and let them know how they can contact you.
Okay, my website is Chris Kehler, and it's spelled ChrisKehler.net, .net. Don't do .com, because there's a ChrisKehler.com who's something else. I think he's an accountant or something. So you want to do ChrisKehler.net. My email address, I'm going to give you my email address. I want to hear from people. It's CKEHLER100 @shaw.ca. If you get a hold of me tonight, I will give you an answer tonight. All my contact information is on my website. I'm on Facebook. Just do a search on my name. You'll find it. You do a search on Google on me, you'll find 3 pages. I get out there. I want people to find me.
That's wonderful, and we'll provide all that for everyone as well, ongoing. And of course, we'll invite you back again to the program anytime, and we can talk about anything you want. And I just have to let you know, it is amazing because tonight, generally we conduct this show through the internet, and the server took over. I'm on a cell phone, and I'm really glad that you're on a phone as well, Chris, because my internet permanently went down now, so I can't.
I'm going to tell you what happened. There are forces that don't want this to happen, and I'm not. Just,
oh, sure.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I can't keep a light bulb lit in my office. I got 4 light bulbs. I have to use expensive LED light bulbs because the filaments within my light bulbs shake so much from the energy in that room. So there are forces at work that don't want this type of information to get out.
Why? They just don't want us to have that sort of empowerment, I imagine.
That's right. That's 100% what it is.
Well, that's unfortunate, and we're going to get it out there anyway. But yeah, my internet has completely shut down. What's really interesting is that Skype shut down, Facebook shut down on me, and I'm not able to get any of my printed messages over to my producer. But I'm going to say this. What's interesting is that my modem is showing that all lights, all systems go, everything's green. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, it's not showing that the internet's down, but everything on my computer's down. But it happens. It happens.
Sure.
And so, regardless, this is recorded. It will go out to the world, and it will continue to. Chris, I just want to thank you for just being such a great guy on the show this evening and putting up with all of our technical difficulties. And thank you for your work. And we'll be talking really soon. So thank you so much. Have a great
wonderful
weekend.
Roxy. I had a wonderful time. And yes, you tell me when to be on it.
And Thomas is trying to call me on my phone, but my phone's not ringing.
Nope, it's not.
So my cell phone isn't ringing, and it's got a It's also got a full charge, and
I can't get the number to post in there. I got to write it down.
okay.
Somebody just wanted us to talk tonight.
I guess not. Well, it's so bad that we're going to have to switch me onto a cell phone because it's that bad. I'm dropping in and out for no apparent reason on my end. I'm not having any slowness. Okay, here we go.
Mute your Skype.
Hello.
Roxy?
Yes.
There we go.
Okay, great.
Mute your Skype, though, so we don't get a feedback.
Yes, doing that right now. There you go. Okay, so now we can have a better conversation. Sorry about that, audience, and sorry about that, Chris. That we have no idea what was happening there, and we couldn't solve it. So occasionally this happens. I want to focus on what you were talking about in regards to the root cause, and what I had mentioned was Western medicine basically prescribing drugs to treat symptoms to treat mask symptoms, I should say, and not treat the actual diseases, etc. Treating not the cause. And so, where do you lie within that realm of thinking?
Well, what I do is I really look deep into what exactly is a health problem. So let's take some examples. I've had some people come in with psoriasis, eczema, skin problems, and that type of thing. And specialists will give people steroid creams and all different, and people will try different things like aloe vera or whatever to try and get rid of it. And it does make it better, but what happens is whatever is causing a problem is suppressed and pushed back in the body. And most of the time, when somebody comes in with, let's say, a skin problem like that, it's going to be a parasite. IBS is going to be a parasite. You know, most health problems, probably 50 to 75%, are caused by some kind of parasite. And a simple live blood analysis will show you that it's definitely a parasite. So when I use my pendulum, it tells me there's a parasite. So I take a blood sample, put it on my microscope, voila, you see parasites. Now, it goes a lot deeper than that to find exactly what a health problem is. And unfortunately for the medical community, they don't look spiritually into what can be. What I find that goes along with a lot of serious health problems is the spiritual end of things, which for the most part is going to be some kind of a spirit attachment, like a ghost, a poltergeist, a spirit that is ready to do what I'm doing now.
Sounds fabulous. Let's talk about health. We just recently did one that was really quite alarming a few days ago. And as far as the health problems that you are dealing with, in other words, the people that come in, the pets or whatever it is that you're going to be working with, whomever, what would you say the problems are? And then let's talk about the root cause of those problems. So what are most of the health problems that you're coming across?
The majority, most people are coming to see me, have let's say, blood sugar imbalances and general, lots of aches and pains in the body, lots of sore knees, lots of stiff backs, lots of problems that, for the most part, the medical community says we can't find anything wrong. So that's where my biggest amount of people are coming in from, is they've gone through the whole medical system, seen specialists for years, and they come to see me. I take one look at them, they tell me what's going on, and I say, you've got a parasite, you've got a virus, you've got something. And we do certain things to get to that point by using a pendulum, which is a system I've developed myself with a series of charts. I also use live blood analysis. So I've got a few different ways to determine what may be the health problem, and 99% of the time, it's right. So what I generally find is the root cause to all these different problems. If you look at disease in itself or illness, whatever it is. Let's say you've got diabetes. You have to look at everybody with diabetes differently. Everybody's got the diabetes for their own specific reason. Same with anything else, any other health problem whatsoever. If you take diseases, illnesses like fibromyalgia, ALS, whatever it is, those are all just basically badges that the medical community has made up that they let you wear to say you have this disease, you have that illness. So what I do is I look in to find the absolute root cause of what's going on.
Now, is the root understood? First of all, we all know that with Western medicine, unfortunately, there are a lot of diseases but no cures. And then basically, I mean, it's just so apparent and rapid.
I've lost you, Roxy.
Yeah, she keeps dropping. I'm going to call her cell phone. Roxy,
Sorry.
are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You keep dropping. I'm going to call your cell phone. Oh, son, it ain't wanting to put your number in there now.
Hold on. Hold tight if anybody can hear me on the air or not. We're having some technical difficulties.
I'm not sure why I'm not getting Roxy. It won't let her join the conversation. There she goes. Maybe that. Are you there, Roxy?
Yes.
I lost everything.
You did.
I
So did I.
just lost him when I tried calling you. So let me call him back.
Okay.
This is a weird night tonight, I guess. It's a full moon, by the way.
Okay. Very strange.
Hi, you've reached Chris and Rochelle. We're not around to take your call right now, so leave us a message.
Oh, I called.
Hello.
We're back, Roxy.
Okay.
All right, you can go ahead. You're live, by the way.
Oh, I'm live right now. Are we up on the server?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
We're there, Roxy, if you can hear me.
Sorry, we're having...
Hello.
Chris.
Yes.
Woo!
Here we are.
We are having a night. Are we live on the air right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, people. We got our server dropped a couple of times, and Thomas, thank goodness, he straightens it out for us.
I dropped a couple of times.
And you dropped a couple of times, and our guest dropped, and we're going to get to you. So you're listening to the Truth Denied Talk Radio. Of course, I'm your host, Roxy Lopez, and we have a great guest this evening. We're going to dive into quite a few topics here. I love the range in which Chris Kehler has available to us to speak to us. So before I get there, I just wanted to go over something very quickly. It's the, Obamacare. Yes, I know, aren't we? Yawn, yawn, yawn. But I just wanted to let you know that, it's quite interesting who opted out, who is legally opted out of Obamacare. In other words, who is exempt from Obamacare. So here goes the list. All right. This is factual. This isn't something I made up. It's not a joke. Those who are exempt from Obamacare are, of course, the creator of the bill himself, President Obama, Vice President Biden, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, the White House staff, cabinet secretaries, congressional staff, the Amish, all American Indian tribes, criminals, Scientologists, Christian Scientists, and Muslims are all exempt from Obamacare. Now, I want you to know something. This is really interesting. As a formality of trying to become exempt myself, about 3 weeks ago, I decided that, wow, I could become a Christian Scientist. So I'll just go over to one of their websites and become.
And it cost a whole lot of money to be part of their organization. I mean, a lot of money. So if you're thinking about maybe joining up, hooking up with the Scientologists, think again, it's going to cost you more money than it's going to cost you to get along. My guest this evening, Chris Kehler, I'm going to get this right, is a quantum...
I lost her.
A person, animal, or plant. Once that information uses sacred geometry, again, this is going to be a fascinating show. He uses sacred geometry, such as pyramids, to neutralize the stressor in the body. Stressors like viruses, bacteria, and heavy metals are moved out of the body immediately, says Chris. He also works on such problems like spiritual attachments, soul issues, and chakra imbalances. We're going to cover quite the gamut this evening. I really look forward to hearing all about his line of practice, work, dedication. Chris?
Yes.
So, Chris, first I must ask you, how long have you been in this line of work, and how did you come upon it?
I've been in this line of work professionally. It's been about 5.5 years or so, which, isn't that long of a time. Basically, I got into this work. It's a long story. It's not a long story, but it's a good story. I love to tell it because it's got a lot of heart to it. About 8 years ago, my first wife passed away. She had a rare disease called scleroderma. And so before I was doing this, when when she was around, I was in the printing trade. I was running large printing presses. I was in management at my local newspaper in Winnipeg. And that's what I did for 30 years. That was my trade. That's what I did for a living. When she passed away, unfortunately, what happened is I was now in the position where I could retire. So at 45 years old, I looked at my financial planner and said, I want to retire. So I did. And the old saying goes, one door closes, another door opens. So long story short is I found myself visiting and working with some people who do this type of alternative work and with muscle testing and doing different things. And as it happens, I just kept on meeting more and more people who do this type of work. And I just got so into it that I just made it what I need to do. And what I've now found after 5 years of doing this is that this is what I've meant to be doing my whole life. And because I picked it up so quickly, found I was intuitive, found I could do some things psychically and work with this type of thing open-mindedly, I just know that this is what everything I've done in my life has set up for me.
I'm a Christian Scientist, and then I'll be exempt from Obamacare. Well, you can go ahead and go to that link to any Christian Scientist local website that you might have and find out how difficult it is today to become a Christian Scientist. You have to go through a formal application. Now, keep in mind, in the early 80s, yes, that was a gazillion years ago for some of you, but in the early 80s, I had a very good friend, as a matter of fact, somebody I was dating at the time, a drummer, who was a Christian Scientist. So I know all about Christian Scientists, and basically to join, all you had to do was go to one of their fellowships, and you were a member. You didn't have to give them any money. You didn't have to do anything like that. Well, that was 1980-ish, 2, 3, 4. You've got to pay for your application. You have to go to a board several times to be interviewed to see if you are Scientist. This is a religion, people. To become a Christian Scientist. And after several approvals, you have to show up at quite a few places. Now, if there are anybody out there listening this evening, and if you're a Christian Scientist, please write to me at info@thetruthDenied.com. Please write to me. I want to know more about the changes that have obviously happened in the last quarter century regarding Christian Scientists Fellowship. So, in other words, it's not that easy to just say you're a Christian Scientist, because get this, after application and so forth, it is registered with the government. Now, what does this have to do with the government? I don't get it. So, in other words, if I claim that I'm exempt because I'm a Christian Scientist.
Roxy, we lost you.
Think about it twice. Not going to happen. You really have to become a full-fledged, real Christian Scientist, and you're going to be very, very busy once you do, because they do a lot of fundraisers, wonderful organization, nothing bad about them whatsoever. Just thought I'd let you know, I did attend some classes years ago over at Scientology. Somebody gave me some classes as a gift, and I didn't know too much about Scientology. I just knew I didn't want to go. This is in the 90s, mid-90s. But I went to a class that someone had given to me as a gift, and I walked out of the class because I found it to be very brainwashing. And this is before I even knew anything about Scientology. The other thing about Scientology is